Craft More, and welcome to another process video. So that very first picture that you just saw is the mood board that I'm using for this page, which is actually the mood board from Scrapbooking Top 50 Australia for July, so it's a current challenge. Feel free to play along, although I'm not sure if it's open to international or not. And I used pretty much everything out of that mood board. There was the denim overalls with the black and white striped shirt, so you'll see right now I've trimmed down my kind of denim looking bit of paper, just a half inch off two sides, and I'm gutting the center of my black and white striped paper there, which I'll use just as the little edge on the outside. Okay, I'm just about to grab my sewing machine now, and I'm going to sew. I haven't even bothered to stick that down, but I'm going to sew around the edges again to have that bit of a, to remind you of denim and top stitching and clothing and things like that. Now this layout turned out to be a little bit of a, how would I say it? A bit of a do as I say, not do as I do. I made a couple of mistakes in this one, but I ploughed on and I am happy with the end result. I think it's okay to, be honest about our mistakes and to try and work through them and not just throw things away at the first sign of disaster. So there we go. I've got the basis of my page, and I've got a couple of stencils there. They're both ones that I've just made on cardstock using my silhouette machine, and they're both cut files straight from the silhouette design store. And you're about to see big mistake number one. So I'm just holding that down with a little bit of washi tape so it doesn't move around, but very soon you're going to see me use here we go, here's my gesso, and I use a little bit too much gesso. It's number one, it bleeds, which in itself isn't ideal, but number two, it's so wet that the stencil sticks to my background a little bit, and I do get a little bit of ripping, which is a shame. But again, I'm kind of going for this distressed denim look. It's not too obvious in the end, and I just decide to go with it. I mean, obviously I probably would have been better off doing this before I'd sewed it to my other background piece. I would have been a little bit less committed, but as I said, I end up being happy with the end result and ploughing through, and there you'll soon see what I'm talking about. You can see I'm finding it a little bit difficult, and I'm being a little bit careful as I pull it off there. Yep, and that's probably when it's ripping right about there. So you can see it's not perfect, but it's still fine for the look that I'm going for. So this page is about, you might have heard me mention, or if you follow me on my blog, I've mentioned once or twice that I broke my foot at the start of this year. It was actually New Year's Day, and this is a page about the day when I actually broke my foot. So what happened is my sister and her family own a slackline, which if you don't know what that is, you can just see it in that photo there. It's a strap, so it's like a tightrope, but it's a strap. You can see it's not very far off the ground. It's kind of just about balance and so forth. If you're a beginner like me, I mean, I have seen it on, where they really do slackline between mountains, where I obviously wasn't trying to slackline between mountains. That's not why I broke my foot. But you can see underneath there's quite a thick mat. I found out later they actually put the mat down more just to protect our feet from bindies than anything else, than to protect us from height. But it was actually the mat that was my problem in the end. You can see it's not, in some of those photos, it's not centered very well, the mat underneath the slackline, and I actually came off the edge of the mat with my left foot, which twisted under me, and I broke, one of the bones in my foot. Now I'm coming back to those stamps from Altenew, which I think I actually used on my last video. It might have been my one on the Crafty Maven channel, I think. So I'm just having a little play first of all on the back of that same white cardstock I used to map my photos, just to check if I'm happy with the colours. Now in a world where you know, we've got unlimited spending. What they like you to do with stamps like this is actually buy a matching set of ink pads, and they do obviously look great together. They're, you know, specially graded and shaded and whatever, so that they all work really nicely together. But if you're like me and you've got a lot of inks and what have you already, have a try and just see what you've got, and you might find that you don't actually need to buy anything new to be able to use stamps like this. Those markers that you can see there are my Marvy markers. I've had them for years. They were one of the early products that I bought when I first started stamping, and to use them on stamps, you just, as you can see, colour, and sometimes you'll notice me giving them a little huff just to make sure they're still nice and moist. I actually, there we go, I'm using a a chalk ink cat's eye as well. So for the purpose of what I'm doing, it doesn't even matter if you mix your inks. On a later flower that I make that I'm not going to show on the video, I use, I think, a little pigment pad as well. I mean, it might matter if you were perhaps going to do some more media after this. So for example, if you're going to do this on your background and then maybe add some wet media, you would certainly want a permanent ink. You wouldn't be using a dye ink or whatever, which is what those Marvy markers are, but for the purpose of what I'm doing, it's fine. Okay, so my paint is finally dry, and you can see I've stamped quite a few of those flowers, and I've fussy cut them out. They're up there ready to go, and I'm about to I've started to pull my silhouette cuts off my mat, which I'd filled up the whole page, but it was going to be my title. I start doing this on camera and I very quickly realised that it's going to take a long time, and it's not going to work out quite as well as I had hoped. And I've obviously skipped quite a lot, and you can see time is a lot later, because what happened was I had a lot of trouble getting my title off the mat. I chose this lovely thin font, which is actually a lot easier to see in real life than in this picture here, and my lighting will get a little bit better later. I just had the lights set up wrong and I forgot to change them before I turned the video back on. But yeah, I had a lot of trouble. My heading was going to be, I think, on the Slackline or something like that, and the on the just ripped apart. I couldn't rescue that, and after quite a lot of time I did manage to rescue the word Slackline. I think the two probably reasons why it didn't work as well as I liked. Number one, it was probably too fine and detailed a cut for glitter cardstock, which, as you probably know, it's, you know, got a bit of a chunkiness to it with the glitter. The other problem probably was my blade. It's probably getting a little bit old. I probably should have used a new blade, or probably not done it on the glitter cardstock at all. But the reason why I let it happen is 95% of the time I would, especially when I'm cutting on a different, something I don't normally cut on, is that I would do a test cut first. In this case, I had that, I'd filled the mat up, not just with my heading, but you can see up the top there's some hearts in circles. I've had literally filled the whole mat up with hearts and stars and circles and things like that, and I hadn't left any room to do a test cut. Hopefully next time I won't make that mistake again. So yeah, that's what happened. But I decide, and in the end, really, I change. You'll see I'll change the in the title to just some tail stickers, and they are a lot more visible anyway than had I just used the that gold silhouette cut. So the other thing that's really exciting about this page there, I'm just going to glue that down with one of those glue pens. Yeah, like I said, it is a little bit easier to see. You'll see it in the picture at the end than it looks on this video, but it's probably not the most visible title in the world. The other thing that's really exciting to me about this layout is that it is the 100th layout I have made at the very end of my 100 page spending freeze. So yay! Really excited about that, really happy. So if you're wanting to know what someone buys after they've made 100 pages without buying anything, stay tuned to this channel. I might let you know that. And you might be wondering, what did I run out of? after making 100 pages without spending 1 cent. And the surprising truth is really not that much. I did run out of black textured cardstock, but I had some different black cardstock. It was kind of you're meant to sand it and it will be like a chalkboard sort of look. So I have used a little bit of that in place of the normal cardstock I use. I certainly could have done with an extra album or two. I've got a really big pile of pages waiting to be stored, but that's fine. That didn't stop me making anything. I did run out of my dimensional glue. I had actually already bought some just because I was at Spotlight with my daughter looking for something else and it was on special, but I haven't used it. So there are a few pages just waiting for a bit of dimensional adhesive to finish them off. So that's really the only things that I actually ran out of. And as I said, the cutting blade for the silhouette, although I think in the end, I think I've actually got another blade, I just hadn't thought to change it. It's probably actually the cutting mat on the silhouette that I need to replace. My issue there is that I have the older style silhouette, the SD, so just it does the A4 or your 8.5 by 11 size cardstock, not the cameo. I'm hoping to get a cameo for either for Christmas or for my birthday, so it's whether I probably will buy another cutting mat or two, though I think they still work on the cameo. And other than that, I'm running a little bit low on a few things like your black and white cardstock, like that one I've got in the pattern papers rather that I've got in the background there, and a few other colours of pattern paper I'm running low on. But really that's it. Anyway, thanks so much guys for watching. If you would be interested in watching a future YouTube series about doing a scrapbook spending freeze, it might be called Scrapbook Spending Freeze 101 or something like that, let me know in the comments below. But either way, I will catch you guys soon.